welcome back to my channel Fit the Lit, your one-stop academic sanctuary where reasoning meets learning, where literature speaks louder than any word. I am your mentor Kanupriya Avasthi, dedicated to enhancing your understanding of English language and literature. At Fit the Lit, we'll try to decode English for classes 9 to 12 curated to CBSE board. We'll try to understand the subject not merely as a subject to be memorized, but as a discipline to be experienced. Let me begin straight away by asking you a very simple and yet valid question. How many of you are aware of the changing pattern of CBSE questions these days? For example, look at this sample paper, CBSE sample paper 2025 to 26. That is the latest one that we have, right? So look at this sample paper and try to understand the nature of questions, right? So in this particular sample paper, if you see and analyze, each and every question contains a minimum of 2 chapters, right? For example, here the first chapter that we need to look at it is this indigo and the roadside stand, right? And you need to express your answer in order to express the plight of marginalized communities. You need to look at this particular question, look at these 2 chapters in order to bring out the theme of marginalized communities, right? Now look at the next question, poets and pancakes, and you need to analyze the character of office boy from that chapter and also compare and contrast it with the character of Sophie from Going Places. Now office boy in this particular chapter, poets and pancakes, is a slightly irrelevant, or you can say a third to fourth important character in that particular story, in that particular chapter. But look at this question. It completely focuses on that office boy. So there is some particular trait that was common with one of the other characters in another story of your given text, and that you need to analyze, okay? The other thing that you need to know is, look at this particular question, right? This kind of question or these kinds of questions are the ones that CBSE is asking these days, and you need to be highly sensitive to the text. You need to be highly knowledgeable about the text in order to understand and answer these questions, right? Now let me take you to some other paper. This is CBSE sample paper 2024 to 25. Again, you will see the same pattern, that they want you to discuss, they want you to deeply analyze each and every chapter, and that too with valid textual evidence. Pause the video, read the question and understand it, right? Although a very easy question, but you need to support it with textual evidence. This is what is new about CBSE these days. They are asking you questions from the text, and that too you need to bring out the textual evidence. It is not just the summary that they require, right? It is not just the plot that they require. It is not just the character sketch. Rather, there is a shift, and that too a very prominent shift, a very prominent and very visible and explicit shift from these things to somewhat deeper, and that is critical analysis, right? They don't want you to read literature just for the sake of fun, just for the sake of enjoyment, but they want you to learn the text's literature as it should be. That is with critical analysis, with a critical eye, with a critical amount of understanding, right? Again, look at this sample paper 2023 to 24. I would say that those particular years were the ones wherein CBSE was experimenting with the type of questions to be included in the paper, right? And we can clearly see their tendency of experimentation. So in this particular sample paper, you will see that you need to write a diary entry, right? The form of answer is already given, and that is diary entry. And just as a hint, they have already given you the beginning also, that you can begin your diary entry like this. And also again, the second question is also of diary entry, but again from a different chapter and through a different character, right? But this had become a very commonplace thing with CBSE in those years, 2023 to 24 and 2022 as well, wherein they were asking you questions with different formats. For example, they could have given you any speech, right? They could have given you any article from the perspective of a particular character. Then they could have given you letter, informal letter, very interesting, right? Then they could have given you, just like in this sample paper, diary entry. And this was not the story of sample paper only. This was included in the board examination as well, the main board examination. So look at this particular question paper. This is CBSE question paper 2022 to 23, and there are different zones for which CBSE publishes its paper, but majority of the questions remain the same, in the sense that the difficulty level is almost parallel. So you cannot say that this particular paper will not come in your region. It will for sure. So this particular paper is of 2023 to 20 of the academic session 2022 to 23, right? Look at this question. Right, here you need to look at chapter Poets and Pancakes, and that too you need to understand the poetic device, the literary device of irony in order to understand this question. You need to understand that Poets and Pancakes is actually a satire which deploys the poetic device of irony in order to bring out the overall effect of humor. Right, but the icing on the top is that you need to again pick out instances from the chapter. You do not have to just learn the incidents, you do not have to just memorize the incidents, but also deeply analyze it, right? So memory is one thing, but they want you to deeply analyze it, right? Let's move ahead and look at the next few years. Look at the question papers of the next few years. So this particular question paper is of 2023 to 24, right? And as I said, they had included this kind of question in the sample paper, and the same had come in the main board examination, right? The same pattern. All right. Now look at the other questions, 12A and 12B. Again, minimum 2 chapters. Here actually it should have been Lost Spring. This was the typo error that they had committed that particular year. So this was Lost Spring and of course they had to compare and contrast the chapter with the chapter Indigo in order to bring out that common man is a victim of exploitation, in order to bring out the theme of exploitation in general, right? So these kinds of questions did come in the sample paper, and they were given in the main board examination also. So you can actually come to a result that the kind of questions they include in their sample paper are definitely going to come in your board examination also, right? So compare the previous year question paper with this one, and you will certainly find the difficulty level has increased, right? So look at the difficulty level of the paper 2023, then 2024, and then finally 2025. So this one is of 2025, and look at the difficulty level. The difficulty level has certainly increased. It has not reduced. They want you to critically analyze the text, and this is what they are hell-bent on. And this is what they will pursue in the further upcoming examination also. Look at this particular question. Where there is a will, there is a way. The above saying aptly describes the character of Douglas from Deepwater and Mukesh from Lost Spring. Compare and contrast their characters in terms of their courage, determination, and the pursuit of their goals. So they have given you the common links, and they are asking you to again deeply analyze or give a deep analysis, a critical analysis of these two characters. Again, look, 2 texts are used, right? 2 characters are used, but the themes can be many. Look at this particular question. Keeping quiet and a thing of beauty. And nature as a source of inspiration and strength to man. Very common question and a very common theme between these two poems. So definitely this question was expected. But if you have not studied, your texts in such a manner wherein you are able to compare and contrast characters, compare and contrast chapters with each other, place the chapters parallelly, find similarities, then you will be shocked after reading these questions in your examination room, isn't it? So have your schools trained you enough, have your schools taught you enough to answer questions like these? या फिर बंटी आपका भी स्कूल स्लो है? Fear not, I am there and I'll guide you to and train you to answer questions like these. And these questions will become a cakewalk once you go through the detailed explanation that I provide on my channel, right? The next thing that I want you to understand, or that I want you to ponder on, is this. Again, a very simple and yet valid question. Have you ever wondered that why these kinds of questions are being put in your paper? Why CBSE wants you to analyze these days and not just learn or memorize and write the summary? Why this change of trend? And as you ponder on this question, let me take you forward with the video and introduce you to yet another question. Again, a very simple but valid question, right? Have you ever noticed that even before they begin with the text, NCERT, that is again made by the guidance or made under the guidance of CBSE, or is highly influenced by the CBSE pattern. So why does NCERT, even before introducing you to the chapter, they have introduced you to the poet, right? And this is the same case with all the textbooks, right? In all the textbooks of course English, that they have given you about the poet in the first place and then they provide you with the text, right? Similar is the case with the prose section. Similar is the case with the prose section. So look at the prose section. I have taken only two chapters here. One is The Poets and Pancakes and the other one is Memories of Childhood. So Memories of Childhood is from Vistas, right? This particular chapter is from Vistas, and this one is from Flamingo. Again, the same pattern is followed, that they introduce you to the author first and then they start with the chapter. Again in Vistas, they have given you a detailed introduction about the background of these two writers, Zitklasa and Bama, and then they have introduced you to the chapter. First about the poet and the author, and then they begin the chapter. Have you ever pondered why? Have you ever wondered why? Is NCERT doing it just because of the pattern, or is there something else that they are trying to indicate? So what is it that they are trying to indicate? We'll try to understand. In order to answer the questions that I've posed, you need to understand that there is a general shift in the kind of pedagogy that is used in India these days, that is used in the education industry these days. So because of the introduction of NEP 2020, there is a shift. There is a shift from rote learning to analysis. And that is why you see CBSE is also changing the types of questions that it is including in the paper, right? The other thing that I want you to tell you is that the second question, that why does NCERT include about the poet and about the author in the first place, even before the chapter? It is because of the simple reason that you cannot understand a piece of writing if you do not understand the man or the woman behind it, the person behind it. And that is why they introduce you to the poet. And more specifically, it is not just about the person, it is sometimes about the context, the background, that what was the background that was there when that particular piece of writing was written. It is highly influenced by, the piece of writing is of course highly influenced by the social impact, right? By the kind of economy that particular place is having, by the kind of cultural practices, right? So if a British writer is writing, the person is more likely to write about Christmas. But if an Indian writer is writing, the person is more likely to write about Diwali, let us say. So this is where these three terms play a crucial role, right? And this is why you need to know the author and the poet first, in the first place, in order to understand his or her thoughts, his or her expression, because literature is nothing but a way of expression, right? Having understood the demand of CBSE question paper these days, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kanupriya Avasthi, and my educational journey started weirdly enough by taking science. So I took this combination wherein I opted for non-medical, and my side subjects were definitely English and Hindi. After studying these two languages for straightaway 2 years, I realized that my inclination was towards languages, and that is why I decided to pursue BA Honours in English from Delhi University. Then I went on to do my masters again from Delhi University, and I was gladly the recipient of gold medal at college level at both the levels, in my graduation as well as post-graduation. So you can consider me as a sort of academic expert in my language or in my literature, in my field. I started working in the field of teaching in the year 2016, and now it is almost a decade of experience that I hold, and that experience is extremely varied. It is extensive in the sense that I have worked on the post of TGT English, I have worked on the post of PGT English, I have worked with private schools, reputed CBSE private schools in Delhi NCR, and I've worked with central government schools, and I've worked with, of course, KVs, I've worked with EMRS. Finally, in my years of experience, I was also made the head of English department. So I've headed the English department, and I've also had the glad opportunity of heading the examination department. I know what it takes to score good and to score the maximum in language papers. Moving ahead, as I said that I have worked with government schools, central government schools, and for working with them, you need to clear national level examinations. So these two national level examinations for recruitment to EMRS and KVS were again conducted by CBSE. I have cleared both these examinations. Kendriya Vidyalaya Recruitment Examination 2023, where I was selected on the post of TGT English, and I have also cleared the Eklavya Model Residential School Recruitment Drive 2024, wherein I was given the post of PGT English. Apart from these things, I have also worked closely with CBSE in the role of an evaluator and in the role of a coordinator. Looking at my experience of 10 years in education, in teaching language, in teaching English specifically, you can easily see that I know how CBSE is going to frame the questions, what kind of answers they expect, where as student you can make mistake, and where as a teacher I should be guiding you. Lastly, I would like to raise this question that who should watch this particular series, that is class 12th NCERT. First of all, I would like to answer this particular question in 2 or 3 words, and that is that it is most beneficial for class 12th students, right? It is most beneficial for class 12th students. So definitely if you're going to attempt your CBSE paper the next year, that is 2026, then you all are welcome. But having said that, let me tell you that my series is going to be divided into two parts, right? So one is going to be basic, wherein the teaching would happen in bilingual form, that is English plus Hindi, right? These videos will have detailed explanation of the chapter, the poetic and literary devices if used, and about the writer, and of course the context that I was talking about. But the other series would be advanced in nature, in the sense that it will only be in English. So the only language that I will be using in those recordings would be English, wherein some additional features will be there. For example, the pronunciation check, right? The vocabulary check, the CBSE previous year questions. These three things will be additional in the advanced ones, the advanced recordings. Both these series will be freely available on my YouTube channel Fit the Lit. So just go and subscribe right now. And if you are any literature enthusiast who is interested to know more about literature, more about writing, then of course you are most welcome to look at the critical analysis of the pieces that we cover in NCERT. So I'll meet you all tomorrow at 5 p.m. when I release my first ever recording of the basic detailed explanation of A Thing of Beauty written by John Keats. Until then, if you liked the video, like it and share it with your friends as much as you can so that they can also benefit out of it. And subscribe to my channel Fit the Lit, where we fit literature to its rightful standard. And we always try to remain lit.